Sell in-game items at the best prices in just a couple of clicks. We are the biggest instant sell service for in-game items like Counter-Strike 2, Dota 2, and Rust. Easy selling process and instant withdrawal of funds to the most popular payment methods. More than 140,000 deals and 50,000 active sellers every month. Use promo code HLTV5 and get a 5% bonus on the sale of your skins. Skin Place. Sell items now.
When every move counts, your chair shouldn't hold you back. Top esports players are switching to Anthros for unbeatable support and performance that keeps them in the game longer. Designed to support your unique shape and built with medical-grade components, Anthros is setting a new standard for comfort. Check out the Anthros difference today and get ready to fix your sit, because gaming deserves more than just a chair.
Hello and welcome to HLTV Confirmed, brought to you by Skinplace and Anthros. Today we'll be talking about another Team Spirit win, Vitality's red flag, as Rob's called it, and whether MOUZ and MongolZ are contenders or just placeholders. We have Striker here, as always. We don't have Chad here, which we'll address in a few minutes. But our special guest for today is NBK. NBK, how are you doing? Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Doing very good. Thank you for having me. Always very happy to be here talking about CS. You know,
it's been a while. No? When's the last time you were on?
That's a good question. I wouldn't know at the top of my head, but you know, I'm watching anyway. You know, I'm always around. I'm always lurking and checking. So I feel like I'm a part of it. You know, no matter there, always happy.
Yeah, what have you been up to? You've been on some desks. You've done some broadcasts. What has NBK's life been the last few months or so?
Yeah, a bunch of things. Played a bit of CS earlier in the year. Tried to make a French team, see what was happening. Then I got an opportunity, very big brand, and tried to go into that, but I just decided not to continue for reasons. And then also the love of Counter-Strike, obviously. Having the chance to, like, you know, being on desk, I've done work with Blast. I was at Cologne with the French broadcast, casting players, a bit of everything. So just done there.
You're cutting out a little bit, NBK. I don't know if it's because you're like tilting back or.
Oh yeah, maybe it's because I'm tilting back. Sorry.
It's probably okay. I thought it was my PC that was lagging.
Stretching,
like, okay, that's good.
I can try to make it work better. Yeah, so just did that, a bit of that in Cologne, a bit of all around really, and much more recently, after watching Cologne, just getting back into the game fully. You know, fully grinding FaZe again. I think with what I saw and the experience that I have and how the teams are functioning. Should have the grind 100%, trying to get into the higher Edo parts of Face It, full solo queuing, so hardcore mode, and then yeah, just trying to get back into the mix. You know, I feel like I can still bring a lot to a lot of teams, so that's the goal. You know, just trying to get back out there.
Are you the full IGL of all of your like Face It teams, no matter who you play with? Do you always just like call all the strats, all the moves?
So one of the key to win in Face It full solo queue is that you have to adapt to the team. You know, like sometimes they would try to call a pistol or like a first weapon run, and you see like people are just going nowhere at all where you're like calling or anything, even the most basic calls. So you're like, yeah, you know what, fuck it, just go play headshot, and then you know that's how you want to play. That's it. Yeah. And so. That's the solo queue key right there.
Nice. I mean, you said 4K elo, not bad for solo queuing. Also shows a pretty strong mentality that you can survive the solo queue. I think it's more about that than anything else. The fact that you can, wake up, do this, go to sleep, and I don't know, it probably affects you mentally, but you're here and you seem to be functioning, which is a great success. I think great advertisement for yourself out there.
Didn't want to queue, I played earlier, like at 1, I played a quick game, and I was like, I need to get ready for the show. I need to be ready for the podcast instead of like queuing again. But yeah, I just want to play more and more, and especially when you start that you get good again, you can actually, destroy the 15-year-olds that are like born in CS2. It feels even better, right? So you want to play more and more, and so I don't know, the love of the game is still there. Like it's nowhere near extinct. So
nice.
I want to play more.
It wasn't on the list, but now that you're talking about, you say you're playing a lot. What are your thoughts on the most recent patches and stuff that came out? The last one said FPS improvements. I never believed that when I read that. But other than that, how's the game feeling right now?
I don't know. I kind of liked CS2 ever since after a year or so, where there was like a bit of fixes. I think the game is obviously different from CS:GO, where like in CS:GO, if you had more experience and more knowledge about the game, holding angles is easier, so you can punish people. Whereas now in CS2, obviously, going wide and get kills doesn't matter if it's a mistake or not. And so I don't know. I like the game. I think it's good to have something new and a different approach. And with the more recent economy changes, I think Armor 12, it's here for a long time now, but obviously it's working. I think it's great for the game. And the economy changed more recently with CT. Seems a bit busted if you start winning a few rounds, and we saw also in the recent tournaments that it became much more city-sided. So like, I don't know yet if it's teams not adapting to the economy very well, because there was a period where you just wanted to force every single round on T-side, pretty much, because you just wanted to get the economy of the cities out. Now it's different. So I think there's a bit of adaptation to be made, but it seems more balanced, where you can have better rounds on CT.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting how it's evolved, to be honest, because like overall, if you look at the HLTV stats for all the maps, it's actually still relatively even, maybe slightly more city-sided like most of the maps, but generally, it hasn't shifted a crazy amount. But then you set like a big event filter, or you look at Cologne and Bounty, both of the bounties, and it's like 65% city-sided almost every map, and you're like, how is that even possible, for the tier 1 to be that different? It's obviously very small sample size, so it's a bit early to tell, but it's just interesting how it's been way different, because we've seen a lot of one-sided CT apps in the past couple of events.
Yeah, let's move to talk about Blast and Spirit. Before that, obviously Chad's not here, so I'm hosting for today. Chad's on his way to EWC with the rest of the gang, including Pimp, who just finished an Ironman, 9 hours of running, swimming, and biking, and then straight onto a flight for another week of working. Absolutely insane. Don't understand that at all. Like, I understand everything he did this year, like the build up to this point, but after that I would just like turn off for like a week. This is how I think of it, but not Pimp. So congrats to him. And Messioso also did it. That's also a huge achievement. Anyway, shout out to those two guys. Shout out to Spirit. Back-to-back wins, back-to-back donk MVPs. Overall, as a neutral, this is like as good as it gets for this year, because it makes things interesting again. We had Vitality being like super dominant, like it was leaning into like, it's kind of boring, we know what's going to happen every time, but we have a new contender. Let's just start with like general takeaways from the Spirit victory. Nathan, you can, what did you think of donk and co?
Impressed by the consistency they have, especially like you would expect them to like go up and down with like the level of the individuals. donk is not stopping at all. he's just the same, and especially with Overpass now that is in the mix, and Anubis being out, he's gonna become even better and even more confident on all of those maps. Shiro showing a very good level. They need him to win, and Chopper as well. The whole team is performing well. The question is, what's going to happen after the next change now that is expected, right? You're winning everything and then you make an extra change, but I don't know, man. I'm impressed. Like, I'm impressed by the level of donk, obviously, just like everyone is. But the fact that they had a bit of a slump and they just bounced back like that, just straight up winning. Although they said it themselves, didn't face Vitality directly, but it's nothing they can control, right? So you beat the teams you have in front of you.
Yeah. I'm personally impressed with Zwei. I think as much as Cologne was a bit up and down, you know, he didn't really have the same ceiling that we saw from him in NBK, but then he comes to Bounty and it's clear. It's a clear change from what we were used to from Magix, you know, was Zwei having some of the much bigger peaks, and it's especially just the way that he plays some of these positions is finally starting to come through. You know, when situations where they're like a 3v3 or a 3v4 and he's the one kind of semi-lurking, or he's let's say anchoring, he will go for some of these more aggressive anchor moves, you know, that you need in those situations, you know, to make the difference. And he clearly wants to make that difference, you know, where Magix would be way more supportive, way more the guy that you have to find on the site, you know, like let's say he's an anchor, right? You have to find on the site and he will buy you some more time, but Zwei is going to be the one who's going to want to try to make a bigger difference. And like that semi and the final both were great games from Zwei, very consistent. You could see some of those moves really working out for him. You know, it's not always going to work, of course. I mean, some of these, the aggressive players, sometimes it's going to go against you, but it just gives Spirit this extra gear that they didn't really have before, you know, where they have an extra guy who can make that difference, who can take it on himself to make that difference, you know. And I think that, I mean, that was my biggest takeaway from this tournament, because, you know, as much as donk like statistically dominated, I think he was a bit overrated by 2.1. I was going into it a little bit on Twitter, and there were a couple of games where I think he looked statistically better than it was really by the eye test, and then it was made up for by exactly either Shiro or Zwei, depending on the game. Even zont1x had a couple of those games, you know, where he made up for that lack. Especially like in some of the regulation games, you know, where donk took a long time to ramp up, you know, and then made the difference in overtime. They only got there because of Chopper having that great ancient game, you know, and some of these step ups that we didn't really see before. So there's a lot of depth. There was a lot of depth from Spirit this tournament.
Yeah, I mean, Zwei ended up like 4th highest on the team, which is kind of where you want him, but it was like a 112 rating, right? Yeah. So for the LAN portion, the 3 games that they played on LAN, overall pretty good. I think I don't know if I said it on the podcast, but it was what I was expecting from Zwei to, after Cologne, get more into what you just described, into being more active and having more plays, and Cologne being just like, here's the blueprint of what Magix did, and just do this and try to not fuck up, which is fine, but not really. You're not really making the most out of this change, right? If you just wanted to do that, then it's going to be a negligible improvement, if even an improvement, right? And that's why overall everyone was like, yeah, they probably could have won Cologne with Magix as well. It wouldn't really change how that tournament went. But yeah, overall that was great. And I think no one was really too concerned about how zont1x would be playing with the rumor coming in, just because we know what he's like as a person and as a player. It doesn't seem to really be affected by these things. He just plays the game as it's a game, and that's it. There's the outside noise doesn't really affect him. Even though I saw like he did have one horrible ancient game, was in the semifinal, I think, against MOUZ, but they still managed to make a comeback there and win that. But other than that, he actually had some great games online as well. He saved them in one of the matches that they had to even go to LAN. So overall, pretty consistent. Not too big of a surprise that he's doing well. What did you think of zont1x NBK and this situation that he's in?
I mean, it's the world of professional CS at this point, right? Where like there's going to be change happening, but I think he's a very solid player no matter what, especially with the resources he's being given as a player and like in this position and the role and the way they function as a team. And yeah, kind of the rock player. That's where it's going to be interesting to see how his Spirit is going to develop now, because you take away the guy that did a lot with nothing. And I think it's kind of fair to expect Zwei to kind of take his positions and to see how that goes. So yeah, and yeah, Skinionaire is expected to be given resources as well. So like it becomes a place where they were kind of balanced in the whole team situation, to now becoming a whole different approach. So I'm sure with what we saw from Chopper and especially Hattie, I think he has a very good idea of what he wants to do and why he's getting those players in. And I'm not really worried about zont1x. He's a very solid player. He's going to be a valuable addition to so many teams out there. Like, you need those kind of players. And I think it's kind of smart from Spirit as well to like kind of renew their roster and have that one extra addition maybe that is going to make them excellent in every step and unbeatable or something like that. Like a bit of a gamble. But for zont1x, I think the opportunities are so wide for him, especially with all the teams from the IS region at this point. He's a great player. Like, he's gonna get somewhere. If he doesn't get a team, unless like Spirit puts a high buyout or whatever it is, he's gonna be somewhere. There's no other way. Yeah,
I wanted to just stay on you for a second because the question is, how will Spirit, like the ZWE addition was kind of seamless pretty much, but the Twistzz one could be a bit more, difficult for Spirit. Do you foresee them? I mean, obviously nothing's confirmed yet. They're going to go play EWC still with this lineup, which is starting in 2 days. So, but after that, with Twistzz coming in, I don't know how much time they have even off before their next tournament. I see Striker is looking it up. But do you foresee a bit of a longer like adaptation period? Because obviously after that, they don't really have anything important until the major. Like, obviously there's a few good tournaments, but that's the big one.
I think that's the big thing, where EWC is very important at this point for the scene, for the orgs. And then the major is the one that is the most prestigious alongside Cologne. That is going to be a major anyway, so it's going to be there. So I would assume, because they're so highly ranked, that the tournaments in between don't matter that much. Even if they don't win, as long as they see progression in like getting the new roles in, satisfying. Obviously, you don't play to lose, but they want to get a format and a direction for the team where it makes sense, where they have the whole group going in one direction and like batting into a new system, have the individuals work out. And it's not because you're winning that your team is healthy. That's also another thing, maybe a misconception. Very very true in the French scene, so I have a lot of experience with that. But yeah, like, it means there could have been other problems they couldn't really overlook. So I don't know. I think when it comes down to this, there's going to be an adaptation period, because a guy like Twistzz makes me think a bit of the Flamus situation. If you don't give him resources, because he wants to go forward, he wants to do stuff, you won't be able to exploit the player as good as possible. And so you're going to have to adapt in donk, Twistzz, being major actors of that movement. And then, yeah, that takes some time to have them balance each other, especially if, I mean, I don't know what their relationship is, but like between donk, Twistzz, ZWE, like all those kind of things, you need to iron it out to be on the same direction. But the mentality that you can see in the vlogs of Spirit, when they're at all the tournaments, with Hallie kind of managing the group on a almost philosophical way, is very interesting and very good for the team. So I'm not too worried, because they seem to have a very, very good structure moving forward.
Just a random question, but now that you say like Hallie is managing the team in a philosophical way, almost sounds like a bit of envy, no pun intended, for that. Like, considering your careers mostly with the French teams, which were, I would say, if these were philosophical, they were like emotionally led lineups, but it never really felt like, your style. Honestly, you're more of a zont1x than, an Apex in that regard. Would have been nice to be, born maybe in a different region.
I mean, maybe, who knows? Maybe I still have time to learn Russian real quick and get into CS, But I mean, yeah, for the French scene, obviously it was a thing. It's also, I think, what made us work when we were like at the peak, when it was early vitality or NV, LDLC, those big rosters, because we kind of had that balance of also Happy was more calm and more in a philosophical side. But I think everything else was led by emotions very, very highly. And so when it works, it's great. When it doesn't work, it can become problematic. But for them, that they seem to be Well, Chopper has much more experience because he also come from another point in time, like Vegas Squadron. People that can remember that kind of stuff. They were like qualifying and fighting for the majors, and then he just became a household name. They all seem to be here just to play Counter-Strike without really worrying. And so you need to have someone that kind of guides and drives them to like just let the nerves off, and you're just here to play Counter-Strike, which is what transpires from the outside. So yeah, I would go learn Russian. I would go into that region, and then I will I would come back for another episode, and we can talk about it.
We'll see how it is.
There's a lot of that stuff coming back, actually. You know, like you guys were one of the few teams who were like outwardly saying how you're splitting like the T calling duties, CT calling duties. You know, you were not happy and all these things. It was going back and forth. You were kind of getting ridiculed for it. You know, when things were going badly. But we see that now all the time. You know, Nico is like famously always leading the CT sides for, you know, now Falcons, before G2, you know, FaZe was doing a lot of leading in general, right? It's kind of a normal thing, and everybody just accepts it, and it's fine, right?
I've seen I don't know, I've seen a quote or something, but the first one that goes through the wall bleeds the most, or something like that. And it's just, if you bring innovation, people are going to target you and make fun of you, but then it might become a standard, right? It's like international rosters when they came in. Like when Kingwin did it, I think they were the first very big one with big names. Yeah, people made fun of it and stuff, and now it's a standard. I don't know, and I was always trying to draw things from traditional sports. And if you look at, I don't know, hockey and American football, they have like very offense and defensive approaches that are different. And I thought that could apply to Counter-Strike, because T sides and CT sides are very different in their approach, right? So yeah, it works for some, it doesn't work for others. Like if you look at Vitality with Apex, for example, hyperactive, so he needs to be in action, he needs to be talking, and he needs to be there all the time. But for other teams, yeah, that's how it works, because other players maybe have more of that fitting and, you know, that love for like one half or the other. So I don't know.
Striker, I'll do a chat moment and ask you, have you heard anything about zont1x and next move? Is there anything happening, or is it just chilling on the bench?
I just heard something yesterday that I'm not ready to share. We'll touch base on that next week, maybe after EWC, when things develop in that direction a little bit more. It would have been, you know, a solid team. So it would be interesting if that transpires. Again, completely random place that I got it from. So like absolutely not ready to say anything on that at the moment. And if something is, you know, developing in a direction, I will report it first. So I will not break something here. Okay. But yeah, definitely I would look, as NBK said earlier, I would be surprised if he didn't have a number of teams calling. Maybe not right now, because a lot of teams are probably like in the ramp up to the major, they maybe now don't want to change a lot of things, you know, but there are a few teams that are probably not super happy with their rosters, that there might be some changes before that even happening. So I would be surprised if none of them came knocking, to be honest.
He's also 20 years old. Like he's a player you can have in your franchise or your structure for a long time, forms and does well. So
yeah, and definitely has, I mean, I don't know if he has the like IGL making, but he definitely, what Yakindar was saying, you know, that he helped with calling and stuff like that. He has some, you know, calling capabilities. I don't know if leadership capabilities are in his wheelhouse, because they're two different things, right? So, but you know, he is someone that can definitely help you also in ways that are not just killing on the server, which he was pretty okay on. Obviously, T sides were worse than the CT sides, but you know, also comparisons, him and Tanir, people did some stuff. I saw Smart Backwards on Twitter made some like comparisons just in terms of like deaths are so much lower. Like he's not a guy that gives away stupid deaths, but he's maybe not gonna close out the round on his own either, right? Just a guy that's playing the percentages. So it's gonna be interesting to see how that develops. Just still being on Spirit, just have to mention Donk's 10th career MVP. Pretty much the same time it took ZywOo from his debut to 10, around 660 days, which is still quite insane. He is now equaled Get Right Kenyes, He overtook Nico, and Colzera is also on 9, I think. So that's an elite group that he's joined. I mean, it's not really surprising when you see how he's playing, but at the same time, when you like take a step back, and especially for us that watched all of these players, it doesn't compute how fast he's accomplished this.
He's averaging an MVP per 2 months, so let's let that sink in, you know.
Especially how high all of those MVPs are, right? Like he's just not just like barely winning MVP, and it's like a matter of like 0.1, 0.2. Is like he is destroying the competition. It's like there's nowhere anybody that is close. It's impressive. Like it's a level that's, well, for people that were around, it's like Get Right Prime kind of level where like Get Right was just a step above the others. But now you just have the whole level is so high, and you have donk that's just like making everybody look like average compared to him. It's insane. It's impressive.
It does quite feel, it feels quite unfair. Some of the kills that he's getting, like we were watching and talking in Discord, like against MongolZ, there was this like specific situation I remember where he's like, this is a 30%, 30-70 duel in favor of the other guy, and the other guy doesn't have a chance. He just gets deleted instantly. It's like, well, that's kind of unfair, right? He's going to win the 50-50, the 40-60, but then, you outposition him, you know where he's coming from, you have the drop on the guy, and you still die. And in those situations, then it's like the round's kind of over at that point. So the individual impact has been crazy. Obviously, other people stepped up. I think we can just talk about a few matches. The MongolZ finals, I mean, against MOUZ and against MongolZ, both of these teams had them at least on one map, kind of on the ropes, and they should have won. I think it was Mirage for MongolZ, for example, where it seems like the game plan was just like avoid donk. So they're just doing like B hits, maybe some B splits here and there, using a lot of utility to just shoo him away. And they went on a good streak, but ended up like the T side, they couldn't stop them in the end. And similarly on, it was the ancient MOUZ game where they really shut him down in the early part. He was trying to get mid control, didn't really work out. He was just getting stopped there. But they still, didn't win. So, what did you make of these two games specifically, Nathan?
Yeah, I haven't played against him for a long time, so I can't speak from experience. But one of the things often with star players, and so that's from more experience of playing against all the others, is the more disrespect you bring to them, the better it is to face them usually, because especially now in CS2, you just picking gives you an advantage, and so he is a master of that. He's not just good; he's like way better than everybody else at how to take those mechanical advantages. But if you go faster, if you go more disrespectful than him, it's something that kind of shocks the players that are that good, right? Because they're usually the ones taking initiative and doing all those moves. So if you manage to like double swing him, like two guys just fully swinging him and going at him, this is the kind of way you can run him down or dodge him altogether. But ultimately, people adapt, and like especially Spirit are aware of this. They would adapt, and they will change their strength, and that's why how to beat them. Period. Even if you have a good start, they will come back and they will just adapt to the game plan. So yeah.
I think the MOUZ game especially was kind of was signifying what I was saying at on the onset, right? Where it wasn't just about donk, like all the way to like on that ancient game, all the way to overtime. It was kind of chopper leading the way, right? donk was getting shut down by Xerxon. That was the case even on Mirage, where he wasn't really having the same impact. Then Zwei takes over for Mirage when donk is just, he's human. He looks human for once, like in some of these games, and it still doesn't matter. Like, you don't get a god donk like this in most of these games, and you don't get to not capitalize on that. If you don't capitalize on donk having these games, then you will just never beat Spirit, because then he will have those games where he will just win everything on his own. So it's just MOUZ had an opportunity there that they didn't really convert, and that again speaks to just a lot of depth on Spirit at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, we can also talk about the two teams. How do I put it? Contenders, or not placeholders. There's something else. Lucas can change the bar when he can, because it's two teams that have now beaten Vitalities in semis and then got to the grand final, played Spirit and got 3-0'd, that is. And I think the MOUZ series was super underwhelming. The Mongols one a bit less so, I think, also because we don't expect Mongols to be contending for a title against Spirit. I think MOUZ have been in this situation a bit more and for a longer period of time. So it is kind of it was a good opportunity also going against Spirit, who just made a roster change, right? But what did we take away from this tournament specifically? Well, maybe talking about either. I know you have a bit of experience with MOUZ, NBK, but yeah, what do you make of them in this season so far?
And it just seems, I mean, the season, I mean, so relatively to where they're coming from, Mongols is obviously growing expectation. The fact that they're a full Mongolian team, they played together for so long, they had a slump and they're coming back into a very, very strong level, like a few finals now. Although they're losing. It's very impressive coming from them because they just do their thing and it's like great. But they also don't have that wow factor of they're real full contenders winning. Like they're missing something. And it's a bit the same for MOUZ, where it doesn't feel like all the players have managed to get enabled at the same time. Mm-hmm. Where you need that if you want to win a final. Like all the players need to be on a very high level and have specific rounds where they're going to win an impressive clutch, even if they don't have the stats, multiple entries, those individual moments. And it feels like, one map is going to be 9-10, and the other map is going to be Senzu, then it's going to be Blitz. Mzinho also has been a bit lacking recently. Where you expect much more from him, being our rifles for the team and very strong individually. So the same for MOUZ, right? Like they struggle being all enabled at the same time. In Cologne, Twistzz had an insane event altogether, but like some elements were just missing. Like Jimmy was not doing as good, and it's like you look at Vitality and Spirit, all the players are enabled. All the players have their moments, their rounds, no matter what, or different maps or whatever it is. And you don't see that in those two teams. And I think that's where they're, I don't know, it's hard to say. It's frustrating because they can do it. All the players individually can do it. If you have a Spink, Xertion, and Twistzz trio that is enabled in one game, they're going to beat, like they can beat any team, right? But they don't. And that's the issue. There's always like one missing or something that is going wrong. And I think that's where there is the big difference between those two teams and Spirit and Vitality that are winning trophies.
Yeah, I think for Mongols, to be honest, like you kind of saw that in Vitality game. That's where they were all on. Like we had crazy 9-10 moments, like a lot of good Senzu moments. Then it's a couple of rounds where Techno has like one key round that he just steps up with, right? So like we did see it in the semi, but then it didn't happen in the final where 9-10 especially had pretty rough game. I think for all three maps he didn't really have the same impact as in the previous one, right? So it is still early for them, right? This is their second big final since the major, right? The major was the first. So obviously they do need experience in these moments. We can see that the individual level can be crazy high on these guys. Like really it is. You could see that, again, from the Vitality game. That's like, we're going to get to it later when we talk about Vitality and what happened in that game. But it is kind of crazy to watch them sometimes where they will just win. Like all of them have the potential to win situations that they shouldn't. And that's kind of what they're basing their game on. But then when that doesn't work, you can see how that falters in a game like against Spirit, where you just have everybody on the other side turning up, right? So it's same thing for MOUZ. Like when they beat Vitality, they were all on. You can see that they all had their moments, and Vitality obviously were it was a rough game from their side in Cologne, but still we can see it. We just don't see it very consistently.
Yeah. I mean, there's for after the game, Xertion was talking to us. He said strategies that we ran many times today, we just didn't know how to run at some points. Everyone made crucial mistakes that cost us rounds. So yeah, just super sad how we played at this moment. I think it's a also interesting fact that they've been kind of on the road. Cologne into the qualifiers, playing also from the MOUZ HQ, coming into Malta, playing there, going to EWC next. So they have a pretty tight schedule, which can be can put a bit of pressure on them in that way. But yeah, I mean, other than that, nothing really much to say. Not a huge surprise of a tournament from the results that we saw there. Obviously, the Vitality win, yes, but other than that, kind of as expected to see Spirit come on top against MOUZ and then Mongols later on. So let's switch to the Vitality topic. But before that, let's do the Skinionaire. So we can set us up for some like French quiz, a little French cuisine almost. Are you ready for it, Nathan?
I don't know if I'm ready, but we're gonna try.
Yeah, you're pretty good at these things. When we did the counter quiz, you were on it and all these. You should be good.
I'll try. So yeah, I need to do
Skin place in chat for a chance to win whatever NBK wins for you guys. Both chats on Twitch and Kick, and yeah, we can get into it with question number 1.
Okay.
What team did ZywOo play in before joining Vitality? Was it AAA, Y6, or Nevermind?
Yeah, so it was pretty funny because there was a big part of the French scene that was not sure if ZywOo was cheating or not. I think Apex and me were convinced. Yeah, Apex and me were convinced that he was not cheating. So yeah, right before getting him to Vitality, I actually had a call with his mother. We had a bit of a chat just to make sure, everything is fine and everything is professional. Very lovely people, the whole family. And so, yeah, he was playing in AAA, a very, very old organization from 1.6 French scene against All Authority.
There we go.
Right there.
He's going for AAA. And the answer is... It was Y6 was before that, right? I don't know if it was the same team, different org, or what the thing was, but it was good times. Yep. Not good times for everyone that was playing like ESEA Advanced or wherever he was at the time. I think that was pretty rough, but yeah. I mean, famously, Shox thought he was cheating. I remember that was like, because there were some talks about like maybe getting him to G2 when Shox was in G2 in the time. And he was like, no way, this is real. Which you can't really blame him from when you see before him, there's not a lot of, I mean, there's no players aside from like ZywOo and Donk that are like this, that just came in. And, even m0NESY played with NAVI Academy, so you could be like, okay, there's some vetting there, but these guys were just like nowhere to be seen before. Okay, question number 2. From the following, who stayed on Vitality the longest? Dupree, NBK, or Shox?
Actually, it's actually interesting.
You're there first. Dupree was there last, and Shox
first, and Shox in the middle. So I was there less than a year with how we signed. I think Shox was longer than a year. It was after, and then Dupree. Okay, that one is more tricky.
I feel like Shox was also there during the online period, which kind of in your mind just like disappears.
Right. Yeah.
Which might be and Dupree was there a year and a half.
It's Shox or Dupree, but I would still say I would still think that Shox was there the longest.
Okay, locking in Shox.
Dupree and him.
There we go.
that was I don't know how close it was actually.
I'll check. Actually, I'm curious.
Yeah, I know I was there the least amount of time out of the 3, but
so he was there over 2 years and 3 months, and Dupree was there from early 22 to mid 23, right? Yeah. So that would have been a year and a half.
Okay, question number 3. The first big LAN that Vitality won was CS Summit 4, IM Winter 2021, or EPL Season 16.
So the DreamHack Opens were not considered.
I guess they're not considered big LANs. Considered big LANs. Were you at CS Summit?
Yeah, we were at CS Summit. I don't know which edition it was, 4 or not, but I know that we won that one for sure. That's where we beat Liquid in the final before they went on their crazy run where they won every tournament. Don't know if it's the fourth one, but I mean, it's got to be this one. Like, it's got to be TS Summit. I don't see the others. As first big land, I'm guessing Summit is a big land, so it's got to be this one.
If it's there, would be kind of a trick question.
I mean, Winter 2021 was way too late, man. We're winning tournament way before that.
Okay, question number 4. When did the first non-French player join Vitality's full-time roster? Was it 2018, 2021, or 2023?
2018 was when we created Vitality. But so, wait, because the question is Alex considered French or not? That's the thing that is interesting. Because if he's not,
let's use the flag on HLTV for this one.
Yeah, so I think he had the British flag. So I think he joined in December 2018, I would guess. I'm quite sure Alex has the British flag.
Going for anything?
Give me 1 second. I still have 20 seconds to think about it and be sure, but because Alex, to be fair, has both passports, but he has the British flag, and I'm quite sure he joined in 2018. Officially, I have to go with 18 because I think it's the British flag. I don't know if it's true, but I knew there was going to be a trick question, so I just want to you with the trick.
There you go.
Okay, yeah.
I mean, what would have even 2021 be? Because the Danes came in 22. Were there any Belgians that I can't remember right now? I don't think so, right?
That was the thing that I was thinking as well. Like, there was Nivera,
right,
there was
yes,
sixth player as well. So there was going to be some trick questions, trick answer in there.
Okay, last question. Let's lock in that $50 skin. Is Apex plus ZywOo the longest standing duo in the HLTV top 10 right now?
I want to say no, because I think Kerrigan and Rain... is Kerrigan and, is FaZe in top 10? Yeah. I think so. I would say Kerrigan and Rain have been playing for a decade or close to it, maybe.
Running, because they had like a period together, then the period not together, then the period together. I don't know how long, like altogether, it counts how long it would be.
I think we only count the last run. It's reset.
Okay, it's reset. I mean, Apex it was years they're playing together,
but might be still true. I don't wanna
sure
mislead you or anything.
6 years, but 6 years.
From 7 even almost, right?
I would say no, because I think there might be some tricky thing with Rain and Kerrigan, but I'm not 100%.
Okay.
Ooh.
Correct. But the answer is not Rain Kerrigan.
Okay.
The answer is K Serato and Yuri.
Oh yeah.
Oh, good one.
Okay, yeah. Tricky, but
barely. It must be by just like some months, right?
Yeah, that's kind of what the two teams came together at a similar time, around 2018, I think. Okay, I need the winners when Lucas has them, and you can bring them up on the screen.
Guys, you're welcome. You're welcome, chat. I dodged all the tricky questions.
It was a good one. It's a good run. So winners: Banksy 161 and Rhett 2009 on Kick and Pitch.
Banksy in the chat. Gee,
Banksy in the chat. Banksy in the chat one time. Shout out. Okay,
place.
Let's talk about Vitality. Obviously following this team quite closely. Played in the team before. You did the French broadcast, as you said, in Cologne, so you're there watching their first, important loss since the start of the year. Second loss coming in right after it, another semifinal, again to a team that they had a great record. Was it like 8 or 9 games against Mongols in a row? 7 against MOUZ that they had. What do we make of this defeat at 2-0 against Mongols?
I think Vitality is over. This is the end of the era. They're going to make team changes, and this is the end for them. But yeah, that's what I would say if I was a fucking loser that doesn't know Counter-Strike. No, it's just, they've been good for like so long at this point that they just need to renew the game. They didn't have that much time either, and like all the teams are gunning for them, as they know. And even Astralis, when they were like playing for the 2 years they were together, they had like some tournaments that were not winning. And it is how it is. Like it's impossible, especially in that time, especially with a Mark 12, really be consistently winning everything. And like that's only a few losses they had over the year. Sure, as competitor, you don't want to ruin the end of the year with the start you had, because it's so good that you want to set the standard. Like you want to be to a level where you're going to win both majors, and then you're just going to keep on winning trophies, and you're going to beat all the other records, make that year unforgettable, especially with the roster they have. So yeah, just need to renew the thing. Just need to renew. Maybe they could even change a bit positions. Just have fun with it. You know, they're not that far either. So bring some fun into it. Maybe the loss of After and their manager was the turning point. Who knows? But yeah, like they just need to bring something fun and exciting for them. Like, what are you gun for? They're going to be winning more trophies this year, that's for sure. It's just harder because the competition is tough.
Yeah.
Justice for Amy.
There we go. I mean, Striker, what did you see? Some people calling for ZywOo to wake up on the forums. That's the latest from the forums that I gathered. Robs is saying that they, you know, these losses were a red flag. Kind of baited to say that by Lucas, our interviewer, but still he said it, so you know it came out. And like that, they're just not playing their A game, that they're playing their whatever game, and that they need to be better at it, right? So where do you put the blame?
I don't necessarily look at ZywOo. He had a pretty bad start on the Inferno game against Mongols, but I think otherwise, I mean, he still had his moments. He was kind of the reason why they were still in that Inferno game in the end. You know, he gave them some of those openings that one of them they threw away and all that. But still, I don't think that it's necessarily to put on him. Of course, when he is on, like really on, he will win games on his own, same as Donk. You know, he will have that capability, and you know, if he's not, then you can look at that as something that they were missing. But that's not what we've necessarily known Vitality to be, where they only rely on ZywOo all the time. If anything, that's what they've gathered or like gotten from with the Rain or Rob's addition at the beginning of the year, where they have so much depth, where everybody can step up at points. And we even saw this in that game, right, where Mezzi had a great Mirage, and that wasn't even enough, you know. And it was more, for me, it was more of a concern of how they played some of the T sides, especially on the Mirage, couple of Mirages that they lost, one to MongolZ, one to MOUZ, where their T sides were just pretty horrid. And it was just bad starts, and they could never really recover from that. And when they do have opportunities to break the other team, they throw away a 4v3, a 5v3. You know, they had that one round where Robs gets the double opening in apps, and then Apex comes out from pits, you know, and gets killed in a 4v3, and then it all spirals out of control. I kind of do understand that specific situation, you know, because who thinks there's an op on tickets when you just killed two guys pushing apps? You know, like that's not a position that you would usually see him in. So I think that's not necessarily too much on Apex, but it was more a lot of situations where they had like 5v4s, 4v3s, you know, where they make some of these questionable moves that just pull it to the other side. I do have to say though, like MongolZ, I think Rob's also alluded to it in that interview, where MongolZ were so fucking sharp individually, and some of these rounds where like the 9-10 ace on Mirage was one of those, the 9-10 quad kill on the Inferno B site, you know, where they had a 4v3 coming in and he just destroys them, you know, even getting pop flashed. The Senzu couple of rounds from Senzu on Mirage, where he gets that wall bang, like spray transfer wall bang into a connect, like Flamesy, I think was on stairs. Then he gets like a smoke kill on a kitchen guy. You know, there was like 3 key rounds that they just turned out of nowhere just through individuals just stepping up. And that's, I know that sounds like a cliche, but really was like that for Vitality. And in some of these rounds where they could finally break them, or they could finally get into the game, and then something like that happens where just you can do nothing. You can do nothing to turn it against them. So it was really well played from MongolZ in terms of individually, and that also like speaks to what I was telling earlier. You know, that they couldn't carry that in the final, where I think that was their best chance at an actual title.
Yeah, I mean, for me, the worrying sign is like, okay, they lost to MongolZ, but the Liquid game was also not that convincing, and especially where Liquid has been this season and this year overall. You don't really expect them to be challenged by them, and it went 2 overtimes on first map, I think, and 1 overtime in the second map. So, and that was with Vitality having really comfy starts as well. So that's where, as the big team, you're just supposed to, win out and not have it be a scary situation in any way. I think that's why, Rob's quote is more about the combination of these two games and how they went, because there's like different things that happen. Definitely that Inferno, the way it started, it was like 10-2 half, right? They just managed to get something in the end, but overall, when after that, it's almost impossible to come back anyway, and they did get it to 13-11 with a very funny little ZywOo blitz moment that's going to be remembered for a while.
I hope people don't. I don't know what the reaction has been to that, but I hope people don't hate on ZywOo for that, to be honest, because that's like milliseconds away from the guy crouches, and just like dodges the shot. I don't think that's on ZywOo at all.
I think that's everyone just giving 400 IQ for blitz, like intuition, spidey sense.
One of the few times where things don't go ZywOo's way. Like as a player, I've seen a lot of things going his way, and that's one of the few times where it's just like, oh well, unlucky. And there's like nothing you can do. It's just like the gods of Counter-Strike that are like, nope, not today. You can't make it. I think it's a lot of also how Vitality have been also recently, because they've been such an aggressive run where a lot of things go their way. So like especially force buys. Like earlier in the year, I think they were close to like a 50% win rate for force buys, something like that, something ridiculous. That gives them like 3 halves, literally, and like 3 rounds.
Yeah.
And so if you have those, like those 1v1s, like 3v3s, where you have like little weapon going your way, you have to grind the game in a different way with a different approach. And I think that's where Vitality maybe has lost that a little bit. And so you have to find ways of like winning those 4v4s, winning those hot rounds, winning those full weapon rounds with full utilities from both sides, where the economy is not going your way necessarily. And I would say that's probably one also of the differences, because you expect people to have like good individual level against you. And so, yeah, they're going to win crazy rounds. Like they're going to be lucky. They're going to be lucky. It's like it balances out in the end. But when you have to grind rounds because you don't win that force buy, because you don't win that close one-on-one, it's a bit of a different approach that you have to have. And I think that's where Vitality needs to like grind it out and find that form again of getting those rounds, because they still know how to win. Like that's not a question. They didn't lose it from one day to the other. It's just probably the way the games have been going. It's a slight change, like playing a 5v5 is obviously way different than playing a 5v4. So you can make those moves through the smokes, make those plays, make those different wall bangs and like fakes and stuff like that. If you don't get those entries for whatever reason, different ball game. And so that's where I see maybe there's a difference between the Vitality of the first 6 months of Vitality now. And so it's like small margins. And yeah, knowing the guys that are directing the team, I'm not really worried that they're going to get back on top of it. And we might have actually one of the most competitive major potentially of recent history with the amount of teams and the level they have. It's going to be interesting.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't seen Falcons turn up really yet, so that's going to make things interesting down the line.
Yeah, I mean, Rob did also say they're going to EWC, which is definitely a more important tournament than this one. Which is it's a fun one to read. I think it's not that surprising, but it's also the general hardcore audience of Counter-Strike doesn't really like EWC as a concept, I feel like. So reading that can be a bit jarring to some people, but ultimately, like
it's millions on the line for Vitality potentially as an org. So like I think I was actually looking at the Club Championship standings. I think they're now third. Falcons, Liquid, Vitality are somewhere top 3, where the CS could decide it all. Like for, let's say, Falcons or Vitality could win the Club Championship, and it's like $5 million for first place or whatever it is. So it's a lot of money on the line, whether you like it or not.
Yeah, from an org perspective, it's from a money perspective, it's important for Vitality, so it has to be important for the CS team. I think like chances for Vitality to win are like very, very, very slim, even if they win the CS part, because Falcons has 22 teams competing, and like Liquid and Vitality have like 13 or something like that. So it's gonna be rough, but there is a chance to be at least second, which is like $1 million difference between being second and third. So kind of important. Yeah, that's that. Just to maybe wrap up on the other teams that played. Virtus.pro had another stinker, I would say. They beat FaZe to come here. Didn't really do anything. Aurora also, that was a heartbreaking defeat to MongolZ. Huge lead, 11-1 up, and then losing. That's actually insane. Major had a horrible individual game as well. Astralis, again, kind of the same. Liquid, we can also maybe talk about later, because talking about the major slots and everything, checking in with where they are. But yeah, outside of the four teams, the top four that we talked about, is there any other team that stands out to you based on what happened at Bounty?
Yeah, I think you summed it all up pretty well. It's like it feels like the same usual for those teams that you mentioned.
Yeah.
The saddest being maybe Aurora, that was that close of making it work. But yeah, I think it comes down to Major having a horrible game, to be honest. Outside of that, they showed something pretty good. Been playing that tight against MongolZ. And then, yeah, Astralis didn't show up against MOUZ online. The Liquid game was interesting, but it's not like they showed something very different, right, from the usual for all those teams. So we need to see more. Maybe a bit of a time off, a bit of extra practice, but doesn't seem like it's going to happen with the calendar and how it is set up.
No, nothing super stand out from the rest. So I think we should move on to the recent news, but before that, I guess it's the best time to go on a little ad break and then come back in a few minutes to continue with the major check-in, seeing where teams are and some of the other recent news.
Sell in-game items at the best prices in just a couple of clicks. We are the biggest instant sell service for in-game items like Counter-Strike 2, Dota 2, and Rust. Easy selling process and instant withdrawal of funds to the most popular payment methods. More than 140,000 deals and 50,000 active sellers every month. Use promo code HLTV5 and get a 5% bonus on the sale of your skins. Skin Place. Sell items now.
When every move counts, your chair shouldn't hold you back. Top esports players are switching to Anthros for unbeatable support and performance that keeps them in the game longer. Designed to support your unique shape and built with medical-grade components, Anthros is setting a new standard for comfort. Check out the Anthros difference today and get ready to fix your sit, because gaming deserves more than just a chair.
Next one is this very peculiar news about PassionUA picking up Complexity's core, which is kind of a big surprise. But then also JT was already in that. Not JT, I mean TC was coaching PassionUA. So there is some connection there. This one obviously has to go to Striker to explain what happened.
It's not my info, to be clear. I don't want to take credit for this. It was Luis who reported this, but yeah, I mean, it seems pretty solid as far as I understand. It's coming pretty close to completion, so we could have it whatever the next tournament is going to be, that they will actually play out with Passion. Yeah, I think a lot of people will be kind of confused about this from a complexity perspective, but I think a key thing to point out would be their financial situation. I don't think CS for them has been necessarily profitable ever since they took over the brand back from GameSquare, right? They have some of these loans to pay off, and searching for sponsors is not so easy for American teams, especially for American orgs. And I think that's been a big reason behind why they were looking for a buyer for the Counter-Strike roster, and it seems like they found one. It is a very curious combination, to be fair. I mean, for a Ukrainian organization to get an American core. But then again, following up on getting TC into the roster into a full Ukrainian team. I think it is on brand at the moment, especially when it's like the former coach of that roster. It just makes him look like a double agent at this point. You know, he just got into PassionUA to get his old boys back. He's like, I'm gonna get. I got kicked from Complexity. I was like, let's just get my team back instead. You know, so that's the funny part.
I mean, what you're saying, and also when it happened, we were speculating that it wasn't like a performance-based he's leaving the team, is just a money thing, right? Yeah. If you have to make all the cuts you can, how big of a difference does a coach make? I mean, it makes a difference, but obviously you need to pay the players first, otherwise you can't do anything. So it's also better to, not have a coach than not pay a coach that you have. That's a really good way of doing business. Paying people for the stuff that they do. Not really a standard in esports still, unfortunately.
For a lot of teams, yes.
Not a standard in esports yet. Still some different entities still struggling with the concept. It's it's a weird one. But yeah, not much to add onto that one. I think it's just something to highlight that it will probably happen and will fly under people's radars when they're like PassionUA and it's grim. Yeah. Maybe they changed their branding a bit, and they already did kind of, right?
PassionUSA. I don't know. There's options. There's options.
Oh, is it?
I will say one thing that we haven't necessarily said, I think, anywhere before. I did hear that BC.Game have been looking around for different cores. For different cores of teams, to improve their standing on the VRS and all that stuff. And as far as I understand, they also wanted the complexity one. That would have also been weird, for the American team to be with simple, let's say, So it's been curious.
That's interesting. Yeah, that would have been an interesting combination to see that group go together. Huh. I mean, it's
so who would even be on the lineup aside from simple?
I mean, I guess it would be a core from Complexity plus one from the standing team. I don't know.
Banger.
Yep. Yeah. BRS magic, baby. That's where we are right now. Yeah. It's just weird rosters just because of points.
I mean, yeah. That the only interesting thing is that Quem will be staying on the lineup, and then Danny. 6E would not be on the lineup, it seems like. We'll see.
You want a first name basis with this guy?
It just has a funny name, so if I say it with just that, it might be hard to understand. That's my angle right there. Sorry if that offended you. I don't think we're that close friends. Unlike Maui Snake, I didn't bring him beers after they made playoffs in Bucharest or whatever. So we're not that close, unfortunately. Yes, next topic. We had a bunch of different qualifiers and lands and kind of stuff popping up. I had a plan to make this little Google presentation so we could see all of them. But as many plans, it just remained a plan. It didn't come to fruition. So that's actually, yeah, you're right, Lucas. So we can jump on that maybe right now before we go into more stuff. You are right, Lucas. Let's jump into fix your shit, since that was about bounty. So this is our segment brought by Anthros, and I'll be taking on this one for this episode. My little issue with bounty is something that everyone saw, is that the bounty challenge mechanic was really didn't add up to anything. Unfortunately, no one used it, and as much as usually we kind of put it towards TOs and like, you need to fix it how it works. Yes, there's things that can be fixed, because if one side, maybe the underdog puts the challenge, maybe it should just be automatically accepted and not have to have both teams saying yes. And essentially how the thing works is like there's a part of the bounty that you can wager on a game. So let's say Vitality is playing Mongols, they can be like, okay, let's put on 50,000 of our money on the line. If we win, we'll get 50,000 of your money, right? But unfortunately, no one used it. I didn't get to like check if there was any, but I don't think there was a single one from between the two seasons that was used. Honestly, the thing that annoys me the most is actually the teams. Because if these teams, when you're doing a pick and prediction and you're like, nah, you're going to put them 0-3 or something. Everyone's just like, why don't you pick me? You don't believe in me. But they don't believe in themselves enough to put money where your mouth is. Like literally in this case, you can do it. You are even sometimes the favorite, and you don't want to, like, it's not like some of these teams that need the VRS points that come with the prize money or whatever, like even MongolZ, even Vitality, it doesn't really matter to them, right? So why aren't you making it a bit more exciting? Why is this not happening? And kind of frustrating for me as a viewer. I would like for it to come into action in some of these games. What do you guys think?
I agree. I mean, it just made for so many awkward moments where Darth Mike is like, come on, let's put something on the line. They're like, nope. That's it. That's where the segment ends. And he's just like, you can't even blame the guy. He's just like standing there awkwardly with the microphone. Like, okay, nothing's happening. Bye-bye.
I mean, could even put like, $1,000 or something, and then just make some funny content off of it. What did we do with $1,000 we won from MongolZ or some shit? That could be a little bit there, but who knows if this is going to be a thing for next year, or they're going to adjust it in some ways. Like some of the picking mechanics I'm fine with. Usually it still ends up just being people going for the lowest ranked team that they can get. Same kind of for Spirit
was the kind of this change one, right? Because I think VP picked Spirit when they had it. I don't remember who was before that, but I think they picked Spirit on, which was, one of 4 teams at that point. I think they could have chosen from.
Yeah, I think someone picked NAVI, right? Was TNL
the first season? Oh yeah, before that. I mean yeah. That was the case.
So some stuff like that. I don't hate it. There's still some things to eventually come to fruition, but I think it's interesting, and Donk says, we didn't beat Vitality, that's why we can't say we're number 1. You could have picked them. You could have just picked them.
No, they never had a chance to pick them, I think. No, because they were always top 2.
Didn't they pick MongolZ? It was like Vitality, MOUZ, Spirit, MongolZ. No, maybe you're right. Maybe
I can't remember now how it went, but yeah, I don't want to say either way.
Anyway, y'all don't have balls. That's it. That's the end of the discussion there.
Do you like the picking mechanic? Do you think it's something that could be interesting? I don't know if you remember, there was a tournament with the live system. There was like in full best of 1, where teams could be with each other, and like
Gamescom one.
It was a Gamescom tournament, yeah, with like lives, and the maps were. I don't know if it was
line comes from.
Exactly, yes. So this tournament, it was like more of a show kind of tournament. And so maybe if you turn it more into a show, like the whole tournament itself would be something a bit less serious. Not obviously not show matches, but a more fun factor to it. In a way, I don't know. I don't have an idea on how to make it right there, but it looks like a half serious, half bounty special format. So why not make it like full special and make it a tournament that is special in that sense, and not like normal.
Well, I guess it's hard to get teams on board with silly stuff, especially with VRS. I think that's also kind of the struggle, because they kind of came up with a lot of these things before VRS was really ironed out and public fully. So some of the things are a bit tricky, but we'll see what happens. Okay, let's go back to the qualifiers and stuff that happened. Just going through some of the headlines. Big one from yesterday was Iberian Soul beating Fnatic to qualify for StarLadder. Another rough moment for Fnatic. Thankfully, they did get heroic spot in Blast Open, which gives them some chances to make some progress. And heroic spot is because the roster change they did, it was also misreported on Twitter by Blast, saying that it was because they lost their spot because of VRS changes, which is not correct. It's just that xCloud doesn't have a visa and they don't have time to get it. So that's why they had to pull out. So yeah, that's a good and a bad news for Fnatic, who are really not I mean, struggling to get into relevancy in this VRS system, unlike NIP, kind of making strides on the edge there. They also NIP failed to qualify for was it StarLadder or CAC? I missed it recently, but yeah.
No, StarLadder, they got pushed ahead because they came in as a replacement. It was CAC that wait, was it even the third one? Was it Blast?
They lost the qualifier against 9 for StarLadder, but then
yeah, one of these three, they ended up failing, and then
they also failed against the FUT for the championship.
Yeah, that's another one.
Yeah, so close, but
yeah, so
other.
So we have all of these teams that are like either the qualifier itself or the tournament that's coming up is going to be huge for the VRS standing and potentially getting in those 16 European teams that will be going to the major, cutoff being on October 7th. I forgot. Chad's not here to punish me, which is great. And then NIP and Complexity are going to Draculan with a couple of other teams, a smaller event, kind of like a Fragadelphia happening in Romania, and that Complexity will be the PassionUA from everything we know, because PassionUA pulled out and pretty much disbanded. They're not really playing. They pulled out of a few tournaments now. So that's just a few things. Also, Fisher put out their second round of invites, which includes MongolZ and a few other top teams. Falcons are already there. So as Striker, you said before, this is like the biggest VRS dictator maybe that is left over before the major, because of the huge prize pool and some of these big teams that are in attendance. So I don't know if there's any takeaways from this that you guys want to jump in, or should we just go towards the standings for the 16 spots?
I think we can go to the standings and then like work away from there, you know, because I think it's going to be that like some storylines emerge from who's like on the edges and all that stuff.
Yeah, Lucas, you can bring up the link that I said before from our dear Twitter user Jesper Larsson 222, who has been obviously following VRS quite in detail. He put out a little Google sheet, seems like a screenshot, breaking down which teams from Europe he thinks are going to qualify and are likely to qualify. So I'll just read it. Start off top 6 that he says qualified with 100% certainty: Spirit, Vitality, MOUZ, NAVI, Astralis, FaZe, 95%, 3D Max, Gamer Legion, G2, 90%, Aurora, Falcons, Heroic, Virtus Pro, and then EU teams in the lead for the last 3 spots. He says Iberian Soul, NIP, and then remaining for the last spot, or one of the last 3 spots, Saw, Liquid, Bait, Perivision, BetBoom, OG, and 9. Where anything that jumps off the page for you, Nathan?
Iberian Soul. I think a lot of people, especially because we're expecting some big news from them with French parts in it, being very gentle, very gentle, good news. But yeah, no, very, very surprised. I don't know if it's also a consequence of how the VRS is made, where it doesn't feel like they've won big teams consistently because they didn't have the chance to do it either.
Yeah.
But they've just been so consistently good of like winning and like beating Saw in the final of that regional tournament, winning Epic Land, so like just adding up all those small wins, and now they're at a place where they're qualifying to lands. Like the StarLadder one is probably pivotal for them in order to qualify, but they can make it for sure. And I don't think people were necessarily expecting it.
No,
because Saw rose up and they play good. We do expect like are they fully Spanish? Yeah, they're fully Spanish. I think they have 5 Spanish players.
Yep.
They just come out of nowhere and just be like, yep, we're just gonna grind the points and be there. And nobody really expected them. Yeah. They just crept up to right there. Now they're in front spot to make it to the major, which is insane. Like all that grind is really cool to see. So yeah, they're the ones that to me like were definitely unexpected. And I'm very curious to see if they can just carry the level online.
Yeah, I'll just tell people what the lineup is. So it's kind of the ex-movie star lineup.
Oh, yeah.
Alex, Mopos, Sausol, DaviG, and Martinez. And Martinez's addition kind of changed things quite a bit. Stadodo was there before. Just looking at the ranking, February, they're ranked 101 in the world. And today on both on HLTV and VRS pretty much the same. Today they are 23rd on VRS and 38th on HLTV, and that's where you see the difference definitely of the Epic LAN. The way VRS qualifies LAN wins quite highly, right?
Even there was a Portuguese LAN as well that they played and won right after that.
True.
So it's those two in combination that definitely played a big factor. I think it is kind of like a rare success story of the VRS, and just kind of flies in the face of the people who say like it's impossible to grind your way through tier 2 to make it to the major without making some huge tournament run or whatever like that. Obviously they haven't made it yet, but they are in a pretty decent position too, and if they do decently well at StarLadder, like let's say they grab a couple of wins, I think they're going to be in a pretty good position, right? So it's cool to see some of these stories happen still in the new system that's been pretty heavily criticized for almost disallowing that, so it is obviously difficult to do it, but it is not impossible for sure.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, at the end of the day, you need to win games, because like even this Epic LAN had teams like the Old Foot, right, with Jax and these guys. They went there and finished 5th to 6th, right? It's not like you just go to a small LAN and it's given to you, and also even if you get invites, it's not given to you. I still think, like, realistically, they still need to do something at StarLadder to ensure the spot, and I think the reason why also Jesper in his prediction kind of downgraded them a bit is because they have pretty much maxed out the LAN wins, right? So when some of these other LANs roll around, other teams can catch up in that way, and they're limited in what they can gain from winning more on LAN, right? In terms of just the matches. So it needs to be the head-to-head against better teams on LAN is what's gonna push them forward or hold them back.
Prize money as well, of course. I mean, that's going to be a big one, like all these other factors.
I feel like they're just right where they deserve to be. And now the question is going to be, can they beat like higher ranked teams, teams that are in theory by the rankings better than them? And if they can manage to do that, then they 100% deserve that spot with how they've been grinding. And like their latest result that is very good, I feel like, is what they've done for the Quiet Fire for StarLadder. Like they beat Nemiga, Foot, and Fnatic. And that's solid. Like those are teams that you're very happy beating on a consistent basis in order to be there. And now, the question, like I think StarLadder is going to be still huge for all those teams because there's like 500,000 of prize pool, I think. And that's going to weigh in a ton in the ranking. So
yeah, especially because it doesn't actually have a lot of the top teams. I mean, we still don't know what they are, right?
Yeah, 4 invites that are not public, I think, right now.
And I don't think, from what I understand, I mean, that's also clashing with Fisher, so anybody who's at Fisher is not going to be in this. I think one of the ones that stand out is NAVI, that I would imagine would go here, Ukrainian TO and all that stuff. There's a connection. And maybe a couple of other teams that could be like just somewhere below the top 10 that didn't say yes to Fisher. I can't remember which ones they are. I remember looking into it. But generally, because of the small competition, that almost makes the event even more important for the smaller teams. It's going to make a bigger difference overall, because there's it's not going to be like the top 4 spots are going to be locked out by the teams that are top 10 already. We will get some of this huge like results from, I don't know, let's say an IP make it to a top two result. They're going to get 130K for their prize pool, and that's a huge gain for a team that's like around the top 20ish on the VRS. So that it is going to shift quite heavily, especially around the level that we're looking at, right? And it's a lot of the teams that are listed in that, on that, like fighting for the last, let's say 3-4 spots, like an IPO, Iberian Soul, Paravision 9 are all in that range.
And even for the top teams, it gives less of an incentive to go at that tournament, to be fair, because you're just going to go there against teams that are lower ranked. Yeah, you're going to lose. Like if you start losing games there and you have an average or 2 bad results, you lose so many points for no reason, because you have nothing to gain going there with very little if your spot is almost locked in. So that's why this tournament is going to be interesting, because it really like it really matters for all those teams in that pool of teams that are fighting for those spots, right? And they're all like contending against each other. So like I think it's going to be, I don't know what the level is going to be like, to be honest, and compared to like the top teams of pure Counter-Strike and how good it's going to be. But man, those guys are going to be killers on the server. Like they would want those wins more than anything. So it's going to make for good games, that's for sure.
Could be like an RMR situation where we see a lot of those teams, like everything matters so fucking much to them, you know, and that's the sort of atmosphere I'm expecting once we get to the land part of StarLadder.
For the next one, I have maybe I wanted to say. I wanted to mention FaZe because what you mentioned here, NBK, is like they're a perfect example of like why would I even try to go to like any of these events, because they practically did nothing since the major. They went to Cologne, they had a few wins in the plane, which actually I think really helped them, and then they had wins against Liquid and Aurora, right? Aurora that was playing with a stand-in, and they are safe. They're locked in for the major. Why would they go to more events where they can lose, especially lose to so low ranked teams, where they could make their major participation like uncertain? For me, just like looking at this and thinking about FaZe, like how, based on what are they locked in? Like what did they actually do? They did nothing. The answer is they did pretty much nothing. They beat Big as well in the first part, and that's kind of it for their season so far, just based on what they did before and not playing too much. Obviously, that could change with some like crazy situation, but I don't think it's it's not really happening. Astralis had their Fisher run at the start of the season, which has also put them in a similar boat, and had some nice wins and stuff like that. But on the other side of FaZe is a team like Liquid, who have been on the downturn and have been super struggling. Very close to beating Vitality, and now they're playing Vitality again at EWC. Funnily enough, that win alone could just make them safe. Like I was looking at the VRS predictor, and it's like 100-something points for Liquid if they win that game. Is that, Striker, do you think that's possible? Is that a game they can win and just like secure it there?
I mean, we saw how close they got in the Bounty just now, right? It was a couple of overtime games. One of them required a pretty big comeback, to be fair. So it wasn't maybe as convincing as it looked, but still, they more with how vulnerable Vitality look at the moment. I think it is, of course, it is possible, but it is a pretty grim outlook for a team like this, because they have London after this, but that's online in part, so the points are just going to be much lower than what you would get at a LAN environment like this, and the prize pool is virtually zero for that part. So that also makes it even more important for them to go to the LAN part of London to even get something out of it, and then they will have Fisher, where that's like their last push for this spot. So they really do need either to make a big result in EWC, or then not fuck it up at Fisher, where that's also not going to be all the top teams. They will need like a top 8 there, to make sure that they get enough prize money, they get good enough results against some of the better teams to make the last push. So there's a lot of opportunities for them, but also the pressure will go up very, very quickly. Let's say Vitality, they don't do anything, they don't reach the LAN final of London, then at Fisher suddenly they will be under massive pressure to even make it to the major, and we know how teams can react to that sort of pressure. We've seen it from Astralis in RMRs, a team that obviously belongs to the majors just falters at the last moment, and Liquid, I don't really see as a team that is particularly stable in terms of their results or their approach to games and all these things. So I think they could very well falter under it if they go that far.
I mean, let's stay on Liquid, not maybe in the VRS angle, but the team angle, because one factor that is something that is around is the rumor about like Twistzz-EliGE swap between FaZe and Liquid. Just the fact that that's been spoken about, let's assume there's some truth to it, means that there's some unhappiness. We also saw Twistzz back when they lost to VP Prodigy, making the tweet saying we're not a team. No words on how we play. 2+2 together. FaZe's last vlog. Did you see the title?
What was it?
The title is "We're not a team right now." obviously, whoever's running FaZe's YouTube is like baiting so hard. They did it multiple times with like rain, fake retirement, and stuff like this. But you know, is there something there, Striker?
I mean, we've all heard the same rumor. I don't actually know whether it's happening or whether it will happen. You know, it's I think it's up in the air at the moment. But I mean, I've been speaking about it a long time. FaZe at least have definitely been looking at changes, and they just haven't been able to until after EWC. I explained it before, basically because of VRS and how they were kind of screwed over by who appeared on the VRS. And they might have made changes already in the break if they could have, but they just couldn't. So they're definitely looking at a team and at changes. And I mean, to be honest, it's very clear that they're not happy with EliGE, and it just doesn't fit overall. To get Twistzz back, though, I don't know if that's like, how does that solve everything? You know, it is basically the same roster as they had before with Rops, except for with Frozen. That would basically be it. You know, so I'm just curious about whether they think that's it or whether there's some more lurking in the background that we don't know about. I guess it's possible.
What do you think, Nathan? Would Twistzz solve FaZe?
I mean, from what we saw, it feels like there's a bit of a deeper direction thing that is underlying, because it's not like, especially Twistzz is a great player, but they're supposed to have the leadership, they're supposed to have the direction and the idea of what they want to do, and it feels like this is fading a bit more rather than just individuals not showing up. I mean, it's usually a consequence, right? If your team is not working well, then the individuals struggle to shine and to play good, and so it feels more of a directional issue that they have. And is adding Twistzz really the answer? And I mean, he can be vocal, he can be very active in a team. But for example, within Liquid, it's not how it's working, right? Like you would expect him to have that much impact in a team like that. And yeah, it just feels like both teams are just not happy where they're at. They're both big teams within the CS scene, big orgs overall. Like Liquid is probably top 3, if not top 1 best of all time, with all the experience and everything they have. Like overall, I'm not saying just Counter-Strike, but like as an org, like they're going to be aiming for excellency every single time.
Yeah.
And he's just looking average. I just checked; they have a 30% win rate over the past 3 months. You can't have that if you're a Liquid. Like, you know, if you're Liquid, this is not possible for a roster. And you have, like, it feels like you have the right pieces, but it's just not working. So both teams need a change. Maybe that's all they need, like fresh blood, well, fresh-ish kind of blood in both their rosters, but like different perspective, different experience. But
yeah, fresh blood in the EliGE that spent 7 years with Twistzz, who spent like 4 years, whatever, 3 years with FaZe.
Same orgs, different players, pretty much. But yeah, there's a whole direction issue, I feel like, in both those rosters where it's not very clear, and there's like underlying issues that is a single player going to change that? I don't know. They're like, Liquid is trying to bring in a whole, like a different coach that was working with NAVI. So maybe trying to bring some of that approach, maybe, but that takes time to go into it. And then it needs to be a connection between the IGL and the coach. Is it there? Do they know each other? You know, like either it's going to take a long time building up, or there's going to be more changes coming. I don't see that one change being that relevant for both teams, where it's just going to change everything. They're lucky to both still be like within the VRS, like especially FaZe is way higher. But Liquid is starting to get on the edge of, you can't afford to lose much more, because if you get out of that top 20 VRS slot,
yeah,
you're on thin ice. It's hard.
It's also going to be hard to attract talent. Like, that's why in this trade, I don't really see it. Like, okay, Twistzz to FaZe, I understand why Twistzz would want this. I don't think it like solves FaZe completely, but I do think it makes some things better and smoother. It will still rely on, like, Twistzz a really good player, but not like, I think his peaks and EliGE's peaks are not on the same. So like they brought in EliGE for a reason, because he is like super skilled and can do some things that not many other players can. But obviously it's not working out from a philosophical standpoint, like how they want to play. It's not like, even if you look at the last vlog and look at everything from the start of the year, it's kind of the same things that are being mentioned. So there needs to be some change there, but I feel like it's going to be still difficult for them to compete for titles in the era of like a Spirit and a Vitality and Falcons. Like, how can they don't see what is their upside compared to these teams, aside from the intangible FaZe aspect, that if they can get that back? Because on paper, I think the players are not, I don't know if you can find like one player that is better than any of the players in their role than any of the players on Vitality, Spirit, or Falcons, right? Mm-hmm. I think it's really, really hard for them to find that edge. So it would require like more changes. But for EliGE to go to Liquid, like, why? What is he getting out of that? That's completely dysfunctional.
FaZe, you mean?
EliGE to go Liquid, yeah. I think that's like a really hard sell for me, unless they're making like building something more.
That's probably the thing.
Making more changes.
Yeah, that's probably the thing, because Liquid can still attract players. They still have very good individuals. It's just not working together at this point with different ideas. And they're also now under the EU ranking. Whereas if it were back to like an NA ranking, it would be way easier to like qualify to get into into the VRS on a higher level. So maybe that's the direction that Liquid is looking at, and they expect and plan more changes. That would make sense.
Yeah, I mean, that wouldn't solve it with an EliGE-Twistzz swap, because
exactly.
It would have to be like an America's Opera for Ultimate, or would they want to change IGLs for somebody from the Americas?
Right.
I would imagine they don't want to get rid of Nerds, even though like he's obviously been struggling, but I don't think it's necessarily to do with him as much as the whole team. You were talking about it earlier, if the whole team struggles, the individuals will, and especially like if atmosphere is off, or if the structures are changing. Also for Nerds, it came with a lot of positional changes, so I think, actually, like for Nerds, like the arrival of the EliGE could solve some things, because it would allow him to go back to more of the lurky, like aggressive lurking, rather than, being more of the space taker that we see him now, right? So maybe that would be a part of like how to unlock Nerds again, versus what's happening now, which is like he's obviously struggling individually in some of the spots that he's been put in.
Bro, I don't know. Whenever Liquid makes a change, somehow there's 3.5 players that are unhappy with their roles. Like, it doesn't even make any sense. I can't track this. Can't make sense of it. Like, everyone played every role, but no one is happy in any role that they played. Like, it doesn't mathematically, it doesn't even add up at this point. But it's just okay. I'll just accept it and move on with my life. I think that's kind of it. I made a tweet that I would like to see EliGE and zont1x play in a Blade Alexi B system, and I got a lot of likes, but I also got a lot of replies telling me it's the worst thing ever and to never tweet again. Is it so bad? I think these two guys pretty like methodical players. I know some people think EliGE is just like a random player. I don't think he is. I think he does he's a very protocol player, but maybe sometimes just does things on his own if the vibes and things are not really working. This is potentially what people have had issues with, over peaking or like misplaying some situations. But if there's someone that can fix that, I do think it's Blade. And I think like zont1x is a guy that's just gonna do whatever you tell him, and he's not gonna fuck up many situations, which is kind of what Blade wants in his system. So I think these two, like, if you could get EliGE to play as not even S tier like best prime, but like play as A level consistently, like he is a sick player. And And it's not even about like who's on Navi, who are they replacing, but just as a concept.
I thought you were making the case for Flashy to be like the U-Blade or something. I thought that was the angle you were going with.
It could be. He has some of that knowledge. It could be that if Flashy can follow the Blade blueprint and adapt it with these two players, I don't see why not, right? If NAV has been struggling, that's a zont1x replacement that makes sense, right? Then they're not NA, but they're fully EU, but doesn't really matter, right? That could be a way to go for Liquid.
Yeah, there could be some of that. It could be an idea. But also, would you need to try it straight? Because obviously NAV has been struggling for some time, but it's also being a part of like the let me call it the Blade master plan of everything that he's doing, and truly like creating it like he is, and having really that understanding of the whole picture and having everything together, and then trying to replicate it, I think is probably not the right approach. You should like take ideas from it. So I think it's hard to expect that from Flashy, that is just brand new at his like head coach role in such a big organization. There's also what Shui wants to do, right? There's a big question mark of what's the direction, and you were talking about the protocols, but let's say EliGE has his own protocols as a player and as his own mind of thinking the game, and then you have an IGL and or a coach that wants to teach you and tell you different protocols. It also might be clashing and be hard in that sense, right? If they're speaking the same CS language, then yeah, it can become amazing because you just become better and you just build on what you have. But having already established protocol and an idea how you want to play Counter-Strike, and then having to quote unquote fight your coach for it because you want to do what you like as a player, that could also be a struggle point that is added to the list of already running issues with Liquid. So yeah, it's a lot of question marks. That's the thing. And the prime is with Liquid, the past years that they've had, the choices they've made with the rosters, the positions, who they're bringing, why they're bringing them, it feels like a headless project, to be honest. Like it feels really rough to see what general direction they want to go to. And I just want to see someone willingly take full charge of that whole project and direction, and then go one way and then stick to it with players that make sense. And
yeah, it doesn't help
certain roles. And that's it. Just move forward and be Liquid. Like Liquid deserves a top team with a real full direction, and that's just what I want to see from Liquid, man. I don't know.
Yeah, it doesn't help.
That's not how it feels.
It doesn't help that like in the past year and a half, we've seen the Cadian angle just fall apart very quickly. Then Twistzz angle fall apart very quickly. Now they have a new IGL. In the meantime, they've changed the coaches 3 times. It's like, of course, there's a lack of direction if you have IGLs and coaches changing on a monthly basis almost.
Yeah, that's I think that's the biggest problem. I think when I look back at Liquid, it's not even that they made good or bad changes, because I think we can think of changes that's good and bad in like black and white, but in reality there's like degrees of how good and bad they can be. And I think they made a few changes that were like 0 out of 10 that set them back so far that it took them like 6 months to recover from, because sometimes you can make a change and it's like, this ain't really pushing us forward, but didn't really reset all of our progress. But I feel like they made some that were like completely either mistimed or just bad for the team. And I mean, even this situation with the IGL and then coach coming in 2 or 3 months later, it's kind of what that is going to put you back quite a bit, because when the coach comes in and tries to implement things differently, it's just going to make you worse in the short term, right? So you have constantly these bumps in the road that are happening. So for whatever reason, sometimes there are excuses. Sometimes some players are too expensive, negotiations fall through. But, if you have a lot of these unfortunate moments in a row, then maybe it's not unfortunate. Maybe you're just, incompetent. This is kind of how I feel about my football club that just went 15 years without qualifying for a European competition. Lots of people that are like 5th of our value, maybe unlucky today, but can't be unlucky 15 years. Maybe you're just bad. That's kind of how it is. Anyway, let's talk about some other teams that are on this list.
NIP.
Maybe bad, but maybe unlucky. NIP, yeah. You think they're making it this time?
I think they very well could. I mean, I think the qualifiers or the online parts haven't really gone well, but I think it's a good thing that they are now coming back to LAN where, you know, they will have another opportunity to make a big headway. We obviously saw that it can work for them in Astana. They made a change since then, you know, and they actually, and I'm in Cologne even with when they had Kaspersky show up for the first time, it was very clear how much of an upgrade that is, you know, over others. So I think it clearly fits them better than playing these online games over and over. I think they're probably getting pretty disenchanted with the whole grind online, especially some of the circumstances that have happened to them. You know, they've had some spots taken away. Now that luck has kind of turned back around, where they got the spot to straight to Star Series after they had to play the qualifier at first, or they were put in the qualifier at first, and then you know, got kind of lucky that a team fell out of the original invites to get straight into the LAN. So that's where they have to make their case, honestly, because I don't think they have anything else other than this Draculan, which, you know, can help them with a few points if they can get the LAN part maximized, you know, but they could do that with Star Series already. If they go all the way, let's say, or they go to the final, they could already get pretty close to that. So this Draculan might not be worth as much to them as they would hope. And maybe even be detrimental to their progress. But I mean, of course, if they win it, they can't be, you know.
That's also one thing that's kind of annoying, is that with some of these lands like Philadelphia or the Draculan, you can't just sign up and then pull out if you decide that it's not worth it for you.
Yeah. I mean, it happens first, you know, so it's fine. It won't happen because it's the first thing on their calendar at the moment.
Yeah, okay. But like Philadelphia, for example, which is happening just before the cutoff, there's for sure going to be like 5 teams that are going to pull out, and there's nothing you can do about it, which feels kind of shitty. But it just is what it is. There's nothing to do, and I can't really blame any team that would do it. Is like, you know, if you're safe in the points, why would you go and potentially lose to some complete no-namers that's going to set you back hundreds of points?
Yeah. I mean, it's all up to Theos to punish this, right? And like, let's say, they will say if you pull out within whatever X weeks from the tournament, you're just going to get a ban from our next invite, you know, which is absolutely in their right to do as long as you announce that ahead of time. Valve have no problem with that, and that has to be the punishment that Theos, I think, will have to start considering, because Valve are not changing that rule about now, like no re-invites and all these things. That kind of leads to this problem as well. You know, that are being kind of incentivized to say yes to everything and then pull out at the last minute if they see that it's not worth it, you know. So there's got to be a solution to that, but I guess that's a conversation for another time.
Even when Valve comes with an update of the ranking for that kind of stuff, one day it's just gonna happen, and then we're gonna discover it when you wake up, you know. But yeah, like you just happen. As a professional, like as professional teams and orgs, it's just you play the game however the rules are set and the system is, and that's it. If that means putting out a last minute tournament and getting banned in order to get stickers because you have to accept everything, then you know it is how it is. Sadly, like it's
oh
a
no,
sad reality.
I can't go to Philadelphia next time. Oh no! If you're in the top 15, you don't really give a fuck, right? Yeah. As long as you go to the major, then you go for it from there. But it is something. But overall, if you're going to be playing well, it's not going to be something that's going to affect you. Actually, it's not going to really care. It is what it is. Any team, I want to talk about Falcons, but we're going to talk about them in the EWC preview. Anything else, NBK, from your side? 3D Max is pretty much seems pretty safe in that way. The Frenchies also kind of similar to FaZe, haven't really played much and haven't done too much, but they're okay.
They're probably where they need to be, I think, as a team. They don't seem to be able to be consistently teams higher than them, but they're also not losing to the ones underneath. So, like in that spot where,
I mean, Heroic could be in a pretty awkward spot as well. And they're just like, I know Jespers has like 90% qualified, but also they're about to play WC with Spirit as their first matchup. Then they will lose to Nier, who's been their best player so far. after that, and then they have like Pro League as the last, like stage 1 as their last push. So technically, like if they really lose everything on before then and now, and then other results go just the right way, let's say Virtus.pro, NIP, Liquid do well in this next, stretch, they could very well lose out on that spot, so that they're definitely one of those teams in danger.
There's also one team that has been creeping up that have been consistently fairly good is OG. That we haven't talked about too much, but like the way they built their team and they fully almost went back from zero with like some of the changes that they had and new coaching staff. And like those seem like OG, NIP. I really like how they're building their rosters. Like you can see they have, compared to other teams, Liquid we're talking about, for example, they're just building teams with a clear idea in mind on how they want to build around people. Like OG, for example, have a lot of trust in Crizzen. And then they got like Spook and Nikodos that are very, very talented players. And then just like adding players up in order to like get a little bit better. And now they're like on the brink of making it to all those, like back to the majors and like into those higher tiers of Counter-Strike. Same for NIP. I think it's the exact same direction. And yeah, it's doable. It's doable. You just have to really be patient with it. And that's a little bit how Falcons have been doing it as well on a longer term and with more money. But like they started with smaller rosters and then just got into Counter-Strike and got one player here, one player there, and then the staff. And then, you just build up a roster. It's just obviously different amounts and different kind of players we're talking about, but same idea, right? And I think that's the right direction at this point. Talent is there. You just need to pick them up at the right time to have the pieces that fit together well. And yeah, I'm happy for OG at least. I know them for quite some time, and I'm happy to see them getting back on track and maybe to the major.
People in chat calling you biased. We don't need to comment on this allegation at all.
Yeah, I was going to say also, like the recent Falcons development is more like, let's get another. How about we get another superstar? Then it's going to start working.
Just one more, please.
Just one more.
But there is a clear vision. That is a clear vision. Yeah. All the superstars. You know what the philosophy is. If you're not like posting 130 ratings, we are not interested in you. Thank you. There's a question. BC game qualify for major? XD. I don't think this is possible at all. Think that's like, they don't have they could buy somebody out. Let's just say let's say that like they could buy a core that is already in the major. That's how they can get into the major. Yeah, Perivision has been getting a lot of hype, but let's we'll talk about them at before after some of these events that are coming up that they'll be playing. Let's move on to EWC. And I think I put the first thing, the total standings for EWC as the club championship that they have going on. You kind of mentioned it before, Striker. I don't know if someone can Google it and send it to Lucas so he can bring it up. There's also a little predictor that you can like play with to see what the outcome could be. But ultimately, Falcons favorites. They're in the lead and they have 3 games to play. Liquid are second, also have 3 games. Like 3 different teams in 3 different games, and then Vitality who are third, and they have CS only left. Essentially, if you win in a game, you get 1,000 points. So that would, if Vitality win and Falcons wins 0 from 3 games, they would be first. But that's not. I don't think that's likely to happen. So it is. It is going to be what everyone's expecting to be overall, but there is still some movement available, like between these 3 and like potentially Virtus.pro even, if they would go deep. But I don't think we are expecting too much from them. Interesting in Vitality and Liquid are playing directly in the CS part in the first game. Yeah. So that's also a little factor there for the importance of Vitality. And the prize pool is also on the website. It's like 7 million for first place, and then 3, 2.5,
2, I think.
Yeah. So there's a huge drop off there. Just some like general info for people, and also the importance of EWC next year is going to be a 2-week event. So it's probably going to be a more impactful event on the calendar and also on VRS and everything, because I presume there's going to be more games than a single elimination.
Must be, yeah.
Yeah, so just some general info about how EWC is. But yeah, the thing I want to talk about is Falcons, because their season, not even their season, but like essentially since the major started till today, which has been 3 months almost, they won 2 games. Fact check me here, but essentially 1-3 at the major, and then 1-2 at Cologne.
Yep.
And then they didn't play Fisher before. They didn't play a Blast. They pulled out a Blast, and they're playing EWC now. So one thing of the pressure is just their VRS standing. Like there is some crazy scenario where they bomb out and don't make the major. That is likely, but still, you know, something they need to be.
I'm just gonna say you just cut off the first part. It sounded like likely.
Unlikely. But that is one part of the pressure. Second was obviously EWC for Falcons is big, so they do want to do well here. If not win, at least make it, you know, a bit deeper into the tournament. They didn't even play it last year as CS. And what was the third? And just in general, they need some good results, because they brought in Kyosuke. He played well. The rest of the team didn't. So as much as before the major started, people are calling them the second best team in the world. Right now, it's really hard to justify that.
You'd struggle calling them the fourth, to be honest. Yeah. At the moment.
Yeah, the top 4 seems to be locked out with the top 4 we had in Blast, and it's on Falcons to prove that they are still there. They should be there based on like the team that they have, but right now they're not, right? So yeah. a lot of different factors coming into play. So I think they're the team to watch for this event. What are you, Nathan? What are you expecting?
I expect them to come in with good things, because they had time to like work a little bit now and to talk and to really fix some other points. The problem that I have with Falcons and a lot of the roster that they had, it seems like they're always like one move away. Like they're expecting a big move, and they're never like in full confidence of having, you know, that group that moves forward, and you know, like, yeah, we trust in that group 100%. And just if you don't make anything work within a year, let's say, then we start making changes and we start having another direction maybe. And it feels like they're still in that limbo of, you know, Nico talking about, yeah, he's going to be IGL one day. Well, you know, that day must come soon, right? Like, this is the kind of things that is a bit in everybody's mind, where you have a teammate that's like, oh yeah, you know, he's like, wait, I don't even know how old Nico is. He's 28. You know, that's the kind of time where you're going to start switching maybe and take IGL, especially bringing in Kyosuke. And, you know, like you want him to take those spots and you're already moving your spots. Well, you know, you're kind of getting there even mentally, maybe. That's the issue I have with Falcons. Obviously, all the players are very good. They're very talented. They know who they're picking and for what reason. Even though they have like drops of form or whatever it is, you know, they're players that would not settle with that. They would always work and get back to it. As a team, I still think the final version is going to be the one with Nico IGLing, I'm assuming. That's, to me, when they will have maybe a clear direction and where we can really see them content for top 4 and for trophies, because it's not a stab at Kicksan or the players. It just feels like they still have an idea of how they want to move forward with the roster, right? So coming into EWC, this is Falcons' #1 goal by far throughout the whole year as an org. They want to win EWC every single year. I think that's going to push the team to do good, to be honest. I think they're going to be solid, especially they have a bit of preparation now. Talked about the game, a few games under the belt, even though they didn't go their way. It's good to like build on something with that. So I expect them to be top 4, to be honest. I don't know exactly know their bracket they're playing. They played G2 first game, then MOUZ or VP.
Yeah, it's not an easy, but there is not really an easy part of the bracket, to be honest. Like, it is top 16 teams, more or less. So wherever you go, it's going to be quite difficult and single a limb. But it's you know, could be rough. I think they're definitely favorites against G2, but then against MOUZ, presuming MOUZ make it through VP, which they should. But again, we're talking about how they've been on the road for quite a while. Maybe that comes into play. Just to, when we were talking about Falcons, what did you make of Kyosuke and his debut, and how the rest of the team played around him?
Well, it's hard to say anything negative about what we saw from him, because he's an excellent player and he just straight up proved it. And I like it's the whole, I don't know if it's all Eastern Europe CS mentality, but he just comes in to play the game and to smash people, and he did that. And so now you just need to build even more around him. And maybe they did the mistake of giving him too much space at the cost of the whole team, where people were kind of lost in what to do as a group. And so now they had time to probably talk more about it and be able to push his ideas while having your own ideas, right? Like, he needs to be 100% free, but you need to have the team be creative enough to compensate what he's going to do. Kind of like what Spirit is doing with Donk, where like, do whatever you want, and then we can manage to work around that in creative ways to support you as good as possible and win rounds. And Falcons need to get there. But yeah, very excellent player. I think very good is not even he's not even there. I think excellent. So like he's a part of that. Yeah, I'm actually going to log the fact that I expect them to be top 4 at EWC. I think they're going to do good, and I think Nico is going to have a gain in form. Same for MongolZ. And if you have that trio that is strong, they're world class for sure. So I think it can work out for sure.
For me, I just want to see MongolZ back to his level, because I'm still kind of reminiscing on last year, where we had these 3 massive players, you know, all turn up at the same time and fighting for number 1. Now it's more like a 2-man race, and of course, there's just no way MongolZ can get into a position where we can even compete for it. But you know, it's been a while since we saw him at his best. Even with G2, obviously, you know, he didn't have the team that could win trophies at that point anymore, I think, once Nico went out. But now he's getting it. But he's been with Falcons, what, 5 months now or so, and he still hasn't had a trophy, even though obviously, you know, they're building the team to win trophies. So like, this run of second place finishes, you know, I'm sure it's probably getting on his nerves. We're getting to a point where he's going to be without a trophy for longer than when he first entered the scene, you know, where it took him until the end of the year to win his first one. And then, you know, periodically he would win a few. And so it's that's what I'm looking towards mainly, because the form we saw from him, of course, Nico was in that same conversation. They neither of them really turned up for Cologne, especially for the crucial last game against Furia. And I don't think that's the MongolZ and Nico that we should expect moving forward, at least regardless of Nico changing positions. I think he has it in him to get adjusted to that.
Yep. Yeah. Agreed. Missing good old MongolZ. Missing that. Do we want to just run through the bracket and see what we expect from the tournament, and then kind of wrap it up there? Obviously, single elimination, 1 game a day, I presume people are playing. Seems like, no. So we have 6 games on the first day,
yep.
and then 4 on Thursday, 2 on Friday, 2 on Saturday, 1 on Sunday. Yeah, it's obviously some favorites going into it. I'll run through the bracket. You guys can tell me if you think there's an interesting matchup. So Vitality Liquid, we spoke about this a bit. Rematch from Blast. Kylo Astralis, rematch from Fisher Grand Final. NAVI 3D Max. Gamer Legion MongolZ. That's the upper side of the bracket. Then lower side is MOUZ Virtus Pro, G2 Falcons, FaZe Aurora, rematch from Cologne when Aurora played without zont1x with xFloud, and then Spirit Heroic. Not a rematch, but a match of Skinionaire is in one team, but he'll be in another team very shortly, according to reports. So maybe that's an interesting one to start off with, actually.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, as I said, it's an awkward one more than anything, because presumably they've been talking already and it's done. So it's like, what do you do in that situation? I mean, obviously they're going to play Skinionaire even more so is going to want to impress Spirit by how he's going to play, but it's still one of those awkward moments where you don't really know what to make of it. But yeah, I mean, Spirit as a team is miles away from Heroic at that point, so
I mean, it's doubly awkward for Skinionaire, who's gone from his favorite positions in Heroic and excelling in them to having to be put into the space taker role, which he's not going to play on Spirit because obviously that's being taken up by Donk. So he just has to play this limbo role that he doesn't want to play, at least on T side. CT side, I don't think changed that much, and you can kind of see how he's still, the Skinionaire that we knew from the first half of the year on the CT sides. So it's just, I don't know, it's just an awkward situation. I don't really expect Heroic to have a real chance. Maybe one angle would be watch out for Alcaran because he's also technically playing against his team. He came from Spirit Academy to join Heroic, so he's also looking to prove himself against the team that, he maybe at some point there was a hope for him to get the call up, even though, it's probably unlikely considering you have Shiro to compete against. But still, it's a cool little angle, and he's obviously going to be fighting for his long-term spot on Heroic because at the moment it's just alone. So that's the angle I'd be looking at.
Yeah, a few funny storylines, but overall, are we still expecting? I guess NBK, you're leaning towards Falcons over a MOUZ. I guess that's the most contentious part of this bracket. Then, other than that,
Falcons G2 has all kinds of storylines in it as well, of course.
Yeah, it's also a good matchup. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to watch.
It's the first time they're playing since Monacy left, right? This is the last game they played was Bucharest, which was a similar situation to Skinionaire Spirit, where we knew it was happening, but it didn't happen yet. Monacy didn't really have a great game there. Make of that what you want. But that was a kind of a disappointing game from G2's side, and now they have this new lineup that is looking promising, but still like a lot to prove, I would say.
It's some bias against this poor organization as well, which is I didn't realize that until now.
That's also true.
It's just storylines on top of storylines. There's so much beef there, man. There's so much beef.
And that might give them that might give G2 a little bit of an edge, because we just Pius was not playing super well, and now he's going to be like, "Yep, I want to destroy them." That's going to be the one game where I'm going to go 1.5 rating and just smash, Yeah. So,
Hunter's gonna be in the war of the cousins. Be like, fuck off now. This is my team now.
Yep.
Well, also he's the IGL, Nico, you're not IGLing yet. Come on, maybe spark some fire there. Message Kickstand before, just tell him, the times, your days are numbered, bro.
Full mental edge. Yep.
Yeah, obviously we have Vitality on the top side of the bracket, and then MongolZ Gamer Legion, NAVI 3D Max. There's like a NAVI MongolZ almost rivalry.
Spicy rematch.
Yeah. I feel like Tyloo, that was like a little flash in the pan for them. I can't be expecting them to be winning more. Is it just me, or?
Yeah, it seems hard, to be honest. Especially the playstyle is not similar to what MongolZ is doing, for example. You can see they don't have that much depth like Blitz and Mar are bringing. I think they're very important for the Mongol side. Chess player and all that probably plays a part. But yeah, for Tyloo, it doesn't seem as clear, but it's going to be against Astralis. There is a chance. I think going further into the bracket, teams are going to be ready and are going to know how to adapt to them. But a fun matchup. Like, they're going to be pretty similar in level, I think. But the experience of Astralis having played against Tyloo already is probably going to give them a bit too much of an edge.
Okay. I mean, we'll see. I don't think there's a point of like going into too much depth with the bracket or anything. We know who the big teams are, who we'll be looking at.
I have one team though.
The show.
Yeah. What do you guys make of NAVI and their change and what they're making? Do you expect them to go big and get another good placement?
I liked what Makaza brought. Like, obviously, he had some up and downs, but also the first game on stage for him was quite shaky, but he recovered from that, which is good. Can't even remember what the game was. But yeah, that was. I think he brought something new. He kind of revitalized the team a bit, but I don't think it's going to make them, number one contender. I just think it's going to make them, playoffs, getting some big scalps here and there. I think they can beat Mongols for sure, but I don't think they'll be, getting past like a semifinal, for example. Yeah.
I'm a bit worried for him because it looks so great in Cologne, and then towards the playoffs it kind of waned off. And in this bounty, he had a pretty horrible tournament. So it's I don't know if that was just a false promise or what happened over there, because he's changed a lot of positions to allow for MongolZ to be a bit more comfortable. And that's obviously always going to be hard, but it looked like it was just actually fitting him even more. And then very quickly, we got a very different idea. So that's what I'm looking for.
Do you believe?
Yeah.
I believe in the direction that they're taking. And again, it feels like the kind of team where they're like maybe a change away still. Not fully there, but the direction is kind of good. I kind of like it. I think it makes sense bringing in MongolZ, and especially with Alexios and Nigel. I think they can exploit his strength very well, and they already started doing it. Except like some positions are still rough, but they still need some practice. But outside of that, you can see this is the kind of I'm here to play Counter-Strike and destroy mentality that they needed without emotions attached. And yeah, I think it's pretty good. And I agree also about the EME part. The group stage was like, oh, if you can perform like that while MongolZ is doing very good and Wonderful is good, again, you have like a trio that is great. Like that is really, really strong and fun to watch. Need the consistency now. Need the consistency, and if you can find it, then have a good look at what you want to do. But again, the Blade master plan, we don't know where it's ending, where it's starting. There are several layers to it, and let's see where it goes.
Yeah. I mean that's it. That's it from us today. This is a very enjoyable show. Actually went by quite fast, I feel like. Especially talking about some of these teams that we don't see that much, and the major will be interesting to follow through the next month. As Striker alluded, who knows? Maybe BC Game buys out something. Maybe we see Simple at the major. Some of the things we can't predict, just like we can't predict who's going to win EWC. It's definitely not going to be Falcons winning the club championship. Thank you for watching. Thanks, Nathan, for coming on. Wishing you a good luck in your facets today, and a potential team coming in later this year, later this month, even. Who knows? Striker, any final words?
No. Nathan,
any final words?
The classic, media trained for the past 16 years. Thanks for having me. Always a pleasure to be here and talking Counter-Strike. I'm free, hire me. I love Counter-Strike, and yeah, always happy to come here and looking forward to what's going to happen in the second part of the year. Counter-Strike is the best esports game of all time, as always.
That's a great note to end on. So thanks to our sponsors, Anthros and Skinionaire. Thank you all for listening, watching, and thanks for Lucas for producing. And no thanks for Chad for leaving us this week. He's going to be back. He'll be back soon. Good night.
Sell in-game items at the best prices in just a couple of clicks. We are the biggest instant sell service for in-game items like Counter-Strike 2, Dota 2, and Rust. Easy selling process and instant withdrawal of funds to the most popular payment methods. More than 140,000 deals and 50,000 active sellers every month. Use promo code HLTV5 and get a 5% bonus on the sale of your skins. Skin Place. Sell items now.
When every move counts, your chair shouldn't hold you back. Top esports players are switching to Anthros for unbeatable support and performance that keeps them in the game longer. Designed to support your unique shape and built with medical-grade components, Anthros is setting a new standard for comfort. Check out the Anthros difference today and get ready to fix your sit, because gaming deserves more than just a chair.